So, Fisch has come back, but it's nothing like what it was before. Now, I will say, I'm very glad that the game has come back, because I've spent, like, a lot of time playing with friends. I've made friends, obviously. I've spent many overnights, stayed up late, grinding, trying to be the best as I possibly can. And it's because, you know, I do really enjoy this game. Well, I did. More recently, I have not been enjoying it. What I mean by it's not the same anymore is, this is one big point I really want to make quickly, is the fact that how the game has, like, evolved. And what I mean by that is, back in, like, you know, the kind of starter days, you know, the mythical rod, which I have on right here, this was, like, seen as, like, a really, really cool rod. And it looks very basic. But, you know, that's how the game was. It was just a casual fishing game with casual fishing rods. So, to have a rod that has RGB on it with a cool little trail, this was, like, really, really cool. Very basic, but it still stood out and was still, like, you know, kind of crazy at the time. But now, more recently, you have things. I don't actually have, like, any of the more recent skins. This is more of, like, an olden skin, but what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't mean this in, like, a bad way, but I kind of feel like the game is kind of oversaturated. In the way that there's too much going on, especially with the fishing rods, but it still feels like there's nothing going on. This rod, for example, I brought it up. You know, nice fishing rod, honestly, a really, really nice design, but none of this is needed. This was still a beautiful rod at the time. And yeah, they upgraded it and got to this, but for a fishing rod, for what the game originally was, it doesn't look like it's from this game. You know, you have casual background. You know, if I equip my mythical rod, you know, everything kind of seems to fit in. You know, nothing too crazy. The rainbow, again, still standing out, but, you know, it still fits in nicely. And then I equip something like this, it's like, wow, I'm now a very bright beam of light, and I stand out way too much. You know, kind of hurts me to say this, but I feel like this game is just purely visuals. Fishing is fun, don't get me wrong. I do like, you know, fishing, you know, the point of the game. But the game was fun using this, you know, no visuals, and the game has continued to only add more visuals rather than improving on the fishing mechanics. They've added harder fish, more fish to catch, a lot more areas. That's all great, but it's all the same thing. The only thing that's really changing is the amount of detail that goes into things. I might, you know, this could just be my view. This could just be kind of stupid to say, but I genuinely think, like, this game is just purely visuals. But back when the game, like, originally came out, you had, like, what's like a basic fish? A sea bass, you know? A casual little fish. You know, that's fine. But now you can catch supernatural black holes, which, okay, to be fair, this is an admin abuse only, which I'll talk about later on. I find that absolutely ridiculous. How did a game go from fishing to being able to catch supernatural black holes? I don't see how we got there. I preferred this much more when this was just a casual fishing game, which, you know, is just my opinion, and, you know, it's the opinion I'm going to continue to have. I just think it's unnecessary. We could have still had rods like this to this day, and if they just spent more time improving the fishing mechanic, or making things feel smoother, adding more ways the fish can resist instead of just having a really, really high resilience, I feel like the game would feel a lot better. Again, this is just my opinion, okay? I'm not trying to hate the game, or I'm not trying to make the game seem bad. This is just me sharing my opinion. So, from what I know, Woozy Nate has gotten, oh well, that's like the owner of the game, Nate. His Roblox is Woozy Nate, I believe. But he's regained complete ownership of the game. I might be wrong about that. That is what I've been told, which is great, because, you know, I think we all know what Too Big is known for. Also, another reason on why this game is, like, revived is there's a lot more new content, which is great. Is it good content? I'm not gonna comment on. One of the biggest things, or this is one of the biggest things to me, is the aquariums. Now, you know, I won't lie, I've set up my aquarium where it makes me some decent profit. That's like 1.2 million, I think, an hour, which, you know, that's good. I don't know what's going on with this guy, but this, I would say this is pretty good. The issue with this is, if you're making more money from just staying off the game than you are staying in the game and actively playing, I don't see why people would actually want to be on the game. Now, a lot of people are, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are also just logging in, claiming, and hopping back off, which I don't blame them. Games that have offline things like this, I do the exact same. I actually really like this feature. That's the wrong button. Is the mastery for rods. I like this feature, I really do. It can make old rods that might not be as good to current date with some of the meta rods still be good. You know, I'm about to get this one done, and I think it's a good passive. I read it on the wiki ages ago. I'm pretty sure it's good, which I really like because, you know, I really like this rod personally. Got to level 1000, which was like the ultimate goal back then, but I think as you can see they've raised that, which that's another thing I could complain about, but I'm not going to. Although it's a nice feature, I don't think it's really fulfilling its purpose all that much. The no life rod, for example. This is a rod I've used a lot, you know, around 16,000 fish caught, which is a lot, and I've spent money on these two skins when they both first came out because it was my favorite rod at the time. And I do genuinely still love this rod, but when you have, you know, let's say the Seraphic rod, it's just better in every way. So why would I use, you know, this over this? And that becomes an issue for the fact that I spent money on these skins which I can't use anymore, which makes me want to use this rod over it anyways, but then that slows down my progression and ultimately leaves me behind, which isn't a good thing. But people in games like this want to be ahead, they want to be caught up with all the new things, which forces me to not be able to use it. I can't use, you know, these skins. I can't use my skin for the Forgotten Fang rod, although this is still like a pretty good rod. Again, Seraphic is just better, and I don't have any skins for this, which I'm not saying I want one, I'm just saying I want to use the ones that I paid money for. Which, I mean, okay, this has been an issue for a while, but it's, I understand they're bringing this to try and make it so you can use them, but even this compared to still some of the, like, the meta rods, it's not good enough. And I don't want the no life rod to be meta again, okay, that's not what I'm trying to say. I just feel like there could be a better way where they could monetize skins, so you can use them for any rod. Which, okay, might sound stupid. For example, I could want to equip the Seraphic rod, but I might want to use one of my no life rod cosmetic skins, and because it's just a cosmetic, I don't see an issue with that. I think that should be something you can do, because again, I spent money on these. It might not be expensive to some, but these were expensive. This was like 800 Robux, that's 8 quid. I can't just do that for every rod that I want to use. Okay, I kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but what I'm trying to say is, it's not the way I thought the game was gonna go, which is fine, because I didn't make the game. The game was not made directly for me, so it doesn't matter what I thought. You know, I would say I'm an OG player, you know, 2024, you know, I caught the Nessie myself. I've been playing since then, and I thought the game was going to continue in that direction, because to me, this is prime Fish. This is the best time of Fish. Either this or Fishmas. This was also really good. Catching the North Star Serpent with my friends, that was incredible times. Okay, I want to make things clear though. Although all of this that I've said, I'm not saying Fish is a bad game. I still think it's a great game. You know, things like this, for example, this is really nice. It helps players so you don't have to, you know, grind for rare things. I don't really know why I'm buying any of that, because I'm not going to use it, but, you know, it's nice. The game is good, the game is nice. There's a lot of content, and to others, that might be a really positive thing, and if so, go have fun with it, you know, go explore everything, go be a completionist and get 100%. That is all up to you. It's all up to what you think, you know, it's your opinion. But to me, there's too much. I'm still going to continue to play the game. I might just not have as much fun as I would have back in like Fish Fight. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have fun, because the game is genuinely good, and I'm happy the game has revived, because it gives me another game to play of, gives me more opportunities to make more friends on a game that I do enjoy playing, which is a great thing to do. Progression might be a little bit wacky, but you know, you can't perfect a game. And I feel like that's really important to say. I've said a lot of negatives. I've not really talked about on all the positives, because the positive outweigh the negatives so much, which is why I'm still going to continue to play this game, probably continue to spend money on this game, and why I think you guys should play it too. You know, this isn't a video to say I hate Fish. It's not to say it's a bad game, no one should play it. I'm just pointing out some things that I feel like, you know, I wanted to talk about because they've been bothering me. So, again, I'm not hating on Fish. It's a good game. I just wanted to talk about my feelings about it, which I feel like I should be allowed to do. And therefore, I have. With all that said, that's going to be it. Goodbye.